Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's Generation 9 podcast. Your host, Victor Martinez, along with Vlad Yudin, and a special cast today with Jonathan Mayers and Jason Best.
Majors. So Jonathan, it's a special day because we typically don't have guests in our podcast because Victor's personality basically carries the whole show the whole time.
I believe it.
So this is very special for us to have a guest of such magnitude, bro. Great to have you on.
Oh man, I think all the listeners should know that it's a bunch of buddies over here, and so there's a lot of formalities that we may or may not subscribe to because Vlad and Jason and I have known each other for a long time. Jason's my best friend. I'm familiar with the podcast. Big fan of Victor. So yeah, it's all good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely,
well,
man. Congratulations on Magazine Dreams finally hitting the theaters, man.
Thank you, sir.
I mean, how long was the journey from the point of conception of this film to the point of release? It's been like what, a few years, right?
Yeah, it's been 2 years. No, from the point of conception, it's been 3, but we shot it. And Jason has a good timeline on this too. We shot it summer of 2023.
Yeah, about.
Yeah. I'm sure there's some fact checkers that can
maybe spring, summertime. Yeah, somewhere around it. It was warm out.
It's all a flow. It's always warm in California, man.
So Victor got a chance to see the movie over the weekend, actually, and so did I. Vic, as a pro bodybuilder, what do you think?
I mean, I have to say, Jonathan, it's you basically went into character. It's like I have known a few bodybuilders exactly like this character.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it's I think one of us has known somebody like this in all sorts of different, careers. But with this, you really went in. It was intense. It was to a point that I was kind of rooting for you at the same time. It was like some cringe moments. It was like you were getting me. It was like emotional jerk there. Yeah. It was just like, man, but I love, the way it kind of, went towards the end. Kind of everybody thought like he was really going to go to his own, demise, and you turned it around.
Right.
It was just,
Thanks, man.
How did you do it? How do you get into the character? I mean, was that the character's, the writer's idea? And I mean, how do you get into this?
Yeah, so I first got to say, I'm very happy that you recognized, some of the members of the bodybuilding community in the portrayal of Killian Maddox, because that was completely the aim. And to go to your question, like, how do we get into that? Well, so Elijah Bynum is a young African American. He's of African American and Jewish heritage. A brilliant writer. And what I saw on the page, was a guy that demanded a lot, right? He demanded a lot of, he needed a lot of attention. You know what I mean? And as an actor, I went, okay, this guy needs a lot of attention. This guy requires a lot of, respect, as far as the craft is concerned. Why is that? Because of the complexity of him, right? If I just looked at him as a character, we've all seen the picture, right? So say he only worked at the supermarket, right? That character alone is complex enough for me to be involved the way I saw it. Neurodivergent, minority, somewhat lives in a pariah. He has a pariah nature to him, because of society he goes into. Then you add the bodybuilding aspect, right? Which completely blows up that whole psyche, blows up that whole way of moving. Now he's not some, 6'1", 165 kid working at this thing. No. That's a different ballgame, right? There's actually a lot of those guys, right? Yes. No, there's a 210-pound, right, 6'1" black man. That's a whole different ballgame. And so it was a bit of a, like all good pictures, it was a bit of a combination of what was on the page, what was inside of me, what me and Elijah both agreed upon, what it wasn't going to be. You know what I mean? There are a lot of chats like that. This is not going to be, you know, X, Y, and Z. We are not going to go down this road. You know what I mean? Because
Yes.
of the demographic, that Killian lives in, there's so many ways that it could go wrong, right? We could
Yeah.
confirm some biases, right? And that was not what we were trying to do at all. We were trying to see, let me show you your bias, right? Let me show you how you view some of these guys. And let me give you a really, really, really in-depth look at that. And then let me show you that this individual, as many labels and judgments that you want to put on this guy, is still, in many cases, a better human being than 95% of the population. You know
I
what I mean?
agree.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You know,
Interesting.
yes, it's extreme, but what he does, the actions he takes, right, actually takes, right, are of divine nature. You know what I mean? And that then plays into, you know, the work, right, the training, right? We had and I'll let Jason jump in, because one of the things I've been saying, and it just like, I was like, yeah, this is true. This is the first process in which um I didn't really have training, right? I had rehearsal. And Jason Best was a huge part of that, because once I dropped the lines in, was doing my walks, and I'll let Jason talk a bit about that, how odd it was to watch his friend kind of be like come in and out, you know, but the training very quickly became rehearsal, right? Where you look at a weight, you look at that, you're like, there's no way I'm gonna be able to lift this 315. I'm gonna be able to
Yeah.
bench this, right? But you have to go someplace in your mind to then make your body do something, right? Enter Jason and his expertise and his gentleness to kind of help me get me to that place where I felt free to express, right? Because that's the beautiful thing about bodybuilding. Bodybuilding is all, to me, right? One of the things I love about it is about the expression, right? When you stand at your full height and you show them what you're made out of, and then show them more, right? You know what I mean? That's full expression, you know, and that was a beauty. That was one of the beautiful parts of it.
You need to take your muscles to the max!
Whoa there, Turbo. Do you even know what's in that stuff?
Oh, yeah.
See, most protein powders are filled with artificial sweeteners, food dyes, and filler.
Really?
I wouldn't put that stuff in my body.
Neither would I. Transparent Labs is made with just a handful of all-natural ingredients without any of the weird stuff. Transparent Labs. Protein without the weird stuff.
Well, expressions we definitely got. And one of the things that we're going to see, and I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of bodybuilders are going to get on the defensive. Like, we are not like that.
Oh yeah.
But at the same
Oh,
time, yeah, but at the same time, they also haven't been through what Maddox has been through with being, you know, losing the parents the way he did.
Right.
So
Right.
they also gotta remember that, like, this did not happen to you. This is
Right.
yes, you can't really say you're like this, but
Right.
just by him being a bodybuilder, that's why they're gonna start automatically, you know, kind of getting in the defensive. What would you say to that?
I would say be as defensive as you want to. You know what I mean? Like,
You don't
really
care.
not my business. You know what I mean? Like, if a store clerk comes up and says, "Well, you know, I don't bag groceries that way, and I don't feel that way," I was like, "That's fine." You know, like, Jason, myself, and the team, like, we made our best effort to do to chronicle an experience of a young man who has dealt with all types of traumas. You know, and we'll be specific, right? Because that's something we do all have in common, you know, whether you want to be a tough guy or not. You know what I mean? Like, we all have dealt with trauma, right? And the tougher you are, usually the more trauma you've dealt with, right? Or metabolized or have, you know what I mean?
Right.
So being completely abandoned at a young age, being thrust into the responsibility of caring for an ailing grandparent who is actually your only lifeline and your only family on this planet, right? Okay, so now you've been cut off from your lineage, right? By your lineage. And then it is your job to uphold the one factor of the family that is existing, right? Okay, cool. Should we go on? Then you have health issues, because you, unlike many other bodybuilders, right? Or not even other bodybuilders, you fall into the category of someone who doesn't have the means to do things healthily, right? Okay, cool. Now now you're taking crazy shit, right? That's making you act crazy, but you already are dealing with crazy shit. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
okay. So that's what I would say to the homie, like, bro, like we made a picture that was to show a human experience, and this human experience just happens to be a bodybuilder.
Right.
I'm not claiming that this is your story. I'm claiming this is a story that happened to a
Definitely.
person who happens to be a bodybuilder. So
Definitely.
I would say kind of turn down the yeah, here comes the fights. I would say kind of turn your ego down, and just kind of take it for what it is. And if you can relate to it, that's fine. Furthermore, and I'll get off it. If all you see in the movie is a bodybuilder, you've missed it.
Yeah.
Oh
Like
yeah.
you've missed it.
100%.
This is a story about a human being, a man. We deal with masculinity. We deal with being isolated. We deal with being, low class financially. You know what I mean? Like, cool. If you don't want to take all those hits and just make it about a bodybuilder, fine. That's on you. I know from my
Yeah.
experience that the world and every individual is a whole. It's the whole. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so I'm not gonna pick and choose, and we didn't pick and choose in making the movie. So if there are any bodybuilders out there who feel that way, you have to understand it's all love, and it wasn't made as a manifesto to your experience, but it is a story about, and it is a story about a character who may experience things that you experience. You know what I mean?
What was the atmosphere like on set? Because Killian Maddox is a very complex character, right? And I'm sure you were going through your preparations. Plus, you were, I'm sure, physical preparation as well, right?
Mhm.
What was the atmosphere like on set? Was it fun? Like, what was it like to be on set with a movie like that?
Well, that one I think Jason can talk to, because, as I said, like my way of approaching the work is that it's all the same thing, right? So I practice the way I play, right, and I play the way I practice. So the shift of that question, like, Jason, what was it like training? With your friend slash Killian Maddox. What was it?
It was very interesting. Actually, first time experiencing something like that. While we're training, it'd be bits and pieces where I hear him going through lines. I'm like, "What you say, Bubba?" Oh no, I'm just rehearsing. Or he would literally go into character while working out, or you can see him hitting his pose, or you can see the person shift into that person they're portraying. And it was very interesting to watch him go into that character. Because again, it was something I'd never experienced. Usually you go work out, you're training, and you're getting the person ready for whatever it is. But with Jonathan, it was Jonathan, then it was Killian. And I had to know and be able to decipher who I was working with at the time. It
Oh
was
wow.
Jonathan or Killian, or sometimes it was both.
Mhm.
And that in itself was interesting, because you talk to Jonathan, your best friend, a certain way, but then you have an individual, Killian, who is not Jonathan, who acts and moves a different way. So I had to almost play two different characters myself,
Wow.
um, while training with them on a daily basis. Sometimes I would see them throughout the day, and you good, Bubba? Yeah, I'm running through lines, or it wouldn't even be I'm good. It'd be Killian. Then later on, I would see him, and it was, hey, Bubba, how are you doing? You good? Yeah, yeah. And it was Jonathan. And that kind of went on until like they started filming. Once they started filming, it was pretty much Killian that
Mhm.
you were dealing with and talking with, and you would get a little bit of Jonathan.
Mhm.
Same thing with training. It was pretty much Killian I was training or training with, and I would get a little bit of Jonathan. Jonathan would be before, Killian would be in the gym. And that's what we would see, and that's what we were portraying, is Killian really becoming, embodying the bodybuilder, really, really taking
A
on
a a a bodybuilder, not the
a,
bodybuilder.
a
A
bodybuilder. Yeah.
so just jumping off of what Jason said, that was kind of the vibe, Vlad, on set. I mean, it's no surprise. I take my work extremely, extremely serious. You know what I mean? Like
I
it
know.
really matters to me, you know? And so on set, like, yeah, there was if the scene was intense, like everyone was aware that the scene was intense, but there was still a certain amount of professionalism where it's like, okay, we're coming to work today. It's all good. At work, it was, I don't want to disrupt the audience, but like at work, it's like you're showing up to a show. You know what I mean? However you train, you know what I mean? It's like you're showing up to a show. It's like if you're one of those jolly guys that just, I'm there, you did your work, blah, blah, blah. Now you're gonna go out there and show them. That's that's the atmosphere you create, for me at work. I'm the bottom guy. You know what I mean? Like I know I've got to go out there and show, right? Primarily because like the training, like we train throughout. So Jason Best and then Rhino would be with me, Rhino Smith, occasionally would be with me on set, right? If we had to do like he was my posing coach, right? And then Jason would come in and clean me up, right? I was like, this is what I'm trying to do. He was like, all right, cool, you got it. Try it this way. Like, all right, got it. Really push, got it. Smile, all those things, right? So on set, yeah, there was very much like Jason was saying. There's always I also produce the picture, right? So it's also a part of me that wants to keep it light, light, fun, keep everybody motivated to move forward. Like let's do this. And then you see what we get. Like you're happy, I'm happy. Let's move on. But no, like if I wasn't, I mean, there's videos of me just running. I would run constantly on set. Something I always do, but this one was a little bit different. I would run constantly on set. If I needed a pump beforehand, if it was just and we had all types of kettlebells in the gym. We had all types. I mean, in the trailer, we had racks, everywhere. Where it's like, okay, I gotta go do this. If I was in the gym, we were working in the gym, But I tried to keep a professional and a pleasurable experience on set. Now you say, how do you do that when you got to go in there and tear up a paint shop? Well, you just kind of isolate yourself. You know what I mean? I was kind of keep myself away because I knew what was about to happen. And when it's over, you buy the crew some coffee and some donuts. You say, hey, we love you. It's all good. Everybody's fine, and keep it pushing. We had a wonderful time on set. Though the work was hard, we had a wonderful time on set.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I noticed you have some real bodybuilders in the movie. You obviously had. I noticed Breon Ainsley is one of the scenes. Brandon Hendrickson,
Yeah,
and of course, how can I forget Michael Hearn?
right.
That was a great cameo, man.
I mean, when we found out that those guys were coming to play, it was a whole different ball game. It's like, okay, like I just keep speaking to this bodybuilder guy who has a problem with something. So I'm just gonna speak to him right now, right? Our aim, right, was like I knew that like Mike was the first one we knew because he's in the principal cast, right? And so I was like, wow, this guy. And I remember telling Jason, hey man, we got Michael Hearn to come in. He's like, what, Mike, for real? I'm like, yeah. So that adds a level of like realness to it, and then the week before the competitions, as a producer, I was approving or looking at or being told, who the other guys were coming, and Breon was on that list. I was like, oh wow, like I know Breon. You know what I mean? Like I knew Breon before I was even doing it. Like women know Breon.
He's great.
You know what I mean? Like we love him, right? He's the GOAT, one of the GOATs. Nah, he's one of the GOATs. We love him. Let's leave it at that. And he's a friend of mine. But knowing that those gentlemen were gonna come and get on stage, like that to me added validity to what we were doing, and it's a different game. Like one of the things I say all the time, and why me and Jason train the way we train, was like no acting. There's no acting here. When you're on that stage and you've done all your work, and then you got to peel out, and the other guy next to you, is competitive, or they're hundreds of miles, in comparing me and Mr. Ansley, right? He's 100 yards down the field than I am. You know what I mean? But I gotta get up there and compete. What that does to the body, like I've never pushed so hard knowing that he's pushing right next to me. You know what I mean? Like that environment was integral to building it, and having real sportsmen, real bodybuilders, guys who have committed their life to the sport as I've committed my life, to God, but then ultimately to God, but then secularly, right, and divinely to my craft of acting. You know what I mean? So like that was incredible. Like that to me, I was like, that's probably one of the best days on set to see them, and for them to participate the way they did.
It would be times where Jay would finish training and I'm like, peel out. And it might just be in the middle of anywhere. Hey, peel out. You kind of give me a look like, really right now? Peel out. Let me show you, look. Okay. And it'd be just that quick. It might be on the street. We've done it on the street, at the gym. sometimes not in the gymnasium. It'd be right in front of everybody. You got to pump, peel out. Let me see. Let me see how your back looks. Okay, no. Let's pull up these delts a little bit more. And I hopefully that the delts,
The delts,
hopefully,
yeah, the delts.
yeah, hopefully that kind of prepared for being on stage because you just gotta be ready for it when they tell you to strike a pose or just being up there in your I guess speedo or
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Posing trunks.
I think
Posing
that's
trunks. Come on.
that's a great point because I mean I had to get over it for Creed, right? Where you come out of that, but that's one thing. But to take everything off, it's such a vulnerable place to be in, like especially because like you worked for it, like what they're about to see, and it's like, if you fucked off, if you ate the wrong thing, if you didn't really dry out, like and then you got to show them, something we still say, show them, you
yeah.
got to rep, show them, man, like you got to come out of yourself, a little bit, or go all the way into yourself, to be on that stage. From my point of view, I'm not speaking
Yeah.
for the bodybuilder guy who knows everything. I'm just saying from my point of view, that's what it felt like. So I thank you for that, Jason. Like I didn't realize that you were doing what would you say? I guess that's exposure therapy in a way
Yeah.
to get me ready for that. Yeah.
No, I got two questions though. It's like I know you started in theater. I know you've done that, and that's beautiful. I always think that's where it all starts. But you got huge. I saw you in Creed. I saw, obviously you have an athletic build.
Mhm.
And two questions is before, like, were you afraid of getting too big? And
Mhm.
will you compete in a bodybuilding show since you're already kind of there? I mean, you're already there, period.
Thank you, brother. Was I afraid of getting too big? No.
Yeah, like any typecast and kind of going where you spill too big for show business.
Well, here like one of the cool parts about the craft of acting is that, and we don't talk about it much because like in drama school, right? So I went to North Carolina School of the Arts and then went to Yale School of Drama, right? Um, yeah, these are the top three schools in the country, in the world, actually, for drama. At least they were as of 2023. We'll see what the Hollywood Reporter says this year. Um, as great as that training is, the one thing I would say that they got wrong, right, is that they told us all the time, don't lift weights, don't lift weights. It makes your instrument tight. It does all this stuff. And I had a really, I had a hard time with that throughout, not because I wanted to be a bodybuilder when I was 19, but because I had grown up, on a farm in Texas. And then if I wasn't there, I was in the city at football practice, you know what I mean? Or on the streets, or, where it's like, you've got to be able to handle yourself. And the best way to handle yourself is to look like you can handle yourself so you never have to handle yourself. You know what I mean? And so it was just a part of my culture, like I started lifting weights when I was in the 8th grade,
Okay.
and didn't stop. You know what I mean? Like didn't stop. I was lifting bales of hay when I was as big as the bale of hay. You know what I mean? And I never stopped. So that type of prejudice, really, really got into me growing up. And I was like, well, yeah, that. You know what I mean? Like I know I can do this. So I was the same size. I don't know if you've seen this picture, but I was the same size in The Last Black Man of San Francisco,
Yeah.
right? That I was only 3 pounds heavier than that for Creed, right?
Okay.
You would
Yeah.
never know it, right? Because of the acting component, right?
Yes. Yes.
I soften my body, right? Like for instance, I don't sit like Killian. Killian sits like this, right?
Yeah.
Gives him all this extra bulk and it makes the clothes fit differently and all this stuff,
Yeah.
right? So no, I was never concerned, especially for that picture. I was never too concerned about getting too big. And then Michael B. Jordan was very adamant about like, bro, go, like get everything you got. You know what I mean? If you can, I mean, at one point, here's the thing, small thing. So when we were training for, I think I've said this to somebody, we were all training for Creed. Mike Mike split the weights, right? But when Mike split the weight, and his Mike, it's Creed, it's not called Damien, right? Mike took all the practical weights, right? So like 45 up. He took all those weights, which and used them in his office, right? Which is yeah, looks great. I was in left with 47.5 up to 100, right? So that's what I had to train on, right? When I couldn't get to his shit, right? So I thank God for that. You know what I mean? And we got what we got. You know what I mean? So I said to say from that to then working with Jason and really stepping into the bodybuilding world the best I could with the time I had. I love it. You know, if I was to play a sport, you know, if I was going to be a sportsman, I think I can say, you know, not saying I'd be the best or anything like that, but I love the sport of bodybuilding, you know. And as I met Ronnie Coleman and he hung out with us in where were we? Brazil?
Colombia.
Colombia. And he hung out with us in Colombia and like training with him and hanging out with him and then the influencer who used to be a bodybuilder, Larry Wills, right? Training with him. Like it feels more I'm comfortable in that space.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that then goes to would I do a competition? I absolutely would do a competition.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's an
that'll be
exclusive.
something to see. There you go. There you
Yeah.
go, Vlad.
I absolutely would.
But you know, Ronnie Coleman actually made a statement. You made the bodybuilding news a couple of weeks ago. Ronnie Coleman actually made a statement about you. He said he was so impressed with your physique. He thinks you can make it as a pro bodybuilder. And then Michael Hearn seconded that. He said yes, he could, but I don't want him to because he has too much talent. That's what he said.
Wow. maybe we'll give it. What do you think, Jason? Should we give it a run?
I don't see why not. It just depends on your schedule, baby. Just depends on your schedule.
Yeah.
The only reason I ask is because it's a fact. You can. I mean, geez. I mean, obviously you have more zoom in on your muscles and everything, so you look bigger than the other movies. But like he says, only a few pounds, not that much, you know.
Thank you, Victor. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, it means a lot coming from Victor. Wow. So Jonathan, there's a scene in a movie with I don't want to give too much away, right? I want people to actually. The movie's in theaters right now. People should go out and watch the movie, right?
Yeah.
But there's a scene with Michael Hearn. I don't want to say what happened. That's a mystery, right?
Right.
But you're a professional actor. I get it, right? You know you're a brave actor. You know what you're doing, right? But how was that scene? Was it awkward that moment in the film for you and for him? How was it? People will ask that, you know what I mean? So I was wondering, like, what was that like?
Great question. Yes, right. But it wasn't awkward for. I mean, anyone who's gonna see the movie. I mean, 2 lines into the film, you can go like, oh, this guy might be a little awkward, you know, Killian. You know, they may label him that way. I think he's precious. But in that moment, right, like I mean, Mike is a very fine actor, and was so generous with it and wasn't afraid, right? But then you have 2 guys coming together to do the scene, and there's a certain amount of awkwardness to it. To me, you know, anyone who wants to be an actor, it's called the already. You let what's already in the room play, right? The second you try to get rid of that, you start acting. Right. And so we just simply got to do that, you know, and Mike was brave enough to just be open and be focused and talk and listen. And I got to be there with him for that. And I got to feel how, okay, cool. And I was like, this is the scene. This is the scene. You know what I mean? Because life gets awkward, especially, you know, when you're meeting your hero or a hero is being approached by someone that admires them. No one knows how to operate, really. They just have to keep feeling each other out. And so we kind of took the text and the action of the scene kind of that way, you know, and we got, you know, a very interesting scene. Yeah, but Mike is great. And he's been great on the press tour as well. I didn't know he said, but I think I did know. Yeah, he sent it to me. I knew that. I sent him a message. That was very sweet that he said that.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, you're getting a lot of praise from the bodybuilding community, especially like the physique, and obviously that's credit to Jason as well. You guys work together on this. But what was tougher for you, like the mental preparation for the character, or was it the physical, preparation?
Well, I think I think this was the first time that they really, really, really went hand in hand. You know, and the more I saw the body begin to transform, right? Because anybody who's done any type of physical activity competitively knows there's a point when the body kind of hits stasis, right? And then something starts happening on the inside. You know what I mean? Trying to maintain that your mind is working. Like you are using your imagination, you are using any motivation, you are thinking about the what's going to happen if you win, what's going to happen if you lose. Like you're using all of that, you know what I mean, to maintain what you have. And so for me, this was the first picture where, because the physicality was so extreme, right? My brain had to really, my body, right? Not the building of it, like that inner part that we all have, regardless of how, tight and strong you are, right? That inner self had to really cowboy up. You know what I mean? And deal with that. And again, very much like the Michael Hearn scene, right? I had to just be present with that. And that did a lot of the work as far as the preparation, so it wasn't like the emotional work, the mental work, the physical work. Killian demanded all of it at the same time. So I would say to date, it was probably the most rigorous prep and shoot that I've ever done.
Wow, it's one of the greatest films. Wow, it's one of the greatest films.
He's not biased at all.
I think it's great. And I asked you that question before about bodybuilders because, going into comments in social media, the first thing they say is, hey, look how they, and I'm like, wait a minute, guys. This is a story about, like you said, about a bodybuilder. Like, this is, how will you define yourself as being him when you don't actually know the story?
Right.
And now you're answering that. I think this is perfect to put out to kind of get them, interested even more to want to see the movie, because at the end of the day, it's a bodybuilding movie. Why would he support it? Like, that is the only question. Why would you not want to support it? And this is great. I can't wait, till it comes out. I mean, till everybody sees it. I mean, I saw it. I'm gonna see it again. And I hope just talking to you, Fakri. No, because he was just judging before he even seen it. And that's it. I want to see how everyone receives it,
No doubt. I think every sport, every marginalized group, okay, here we go, Jason. It's making us in trouble. It's making us in trouble.
Get him. Let's go.
With all due respect, right? With all due respect, the history of bodybuilding in America is being outpaced by the celebrity culture that we have here. And now a genuine, I can hear him now. And now as Jason and I have experienced, India, right? Latin America, right? France, right? England, right? They have gotten hip to the beautiful culture that is bodybuilding, right? The beautiful sport that is bodybuilding, the camaraderie that comes with it, right? The mental toughness, the healing that can come with it, right? And they're monetizing it, and they're getting everybody involved in it, and it's wicked. Meanwhile, here in America, from my experience and my research, right? Bodybuilding doesn't move anything, right? Now it's a cult. Nice. It's a cult sport, right? It's the baddest of the bad, right? But it's a cult sport, right? We've been overpassed by but we've been overpassed by UFC, right? We're not as relevant as boxing is, and boxing, right, has gone from the acme of sportsmanship, right, to what you watch if Mayweather's fighting, right? Well, Mayweather's not fighting anymore. You know what I mean? If the homie's fighting, right? It's no. We as a culture, right? As a bodybuilding culture, my hope is that, okay, you've seen this movie, hate it or love it, it's for you. It's for you. It's to push a part of the culture, the beautiful culture of bodybuilding forward, right? And hopefully what will happen is some young kid, male or female, decides, hey, I'm gonna try this too. You know what I mean? And then maybe some other director goes, you know what? I know an actor who's crazy enough to try to get like that. I got a script. Let's make another movie. How many basketball movies do we have?
Oh, a lot.
How many football movies do we have? Right? We need to get behind it. Right? I'm not saying this is, come see my film. I would love you to see it. You know what I mean? For the art of it, right? But also because it is about something that you love, right? It may be a perspective you don't like, or maybe a perspective you don't want to see, but it's there. We didn't make it up. You know what I mean? You
Absolutely.
said, Victor, oh, I maybe not you, maybe not all your homies, but you know the guy who's like that, right?
Yes.
We all know the male, the guy or the gal that sits in the gym who's just hoodie on, working, right? And it's manic. You're like, what's up with them? You know what I mean?
It's a fact.
I'm trying to show you what could be up with them. What could be. You know what I mean? This isn't politics. This is art.
Absolutely. When the
Yeah.
movie came out, you won the prestigious Sundance Award, the jury, special jury. I mean, that was obviously a great, opening of the film. The reviews have been great. The reviews have been praising you. As an
Yeah.
actor, do you think about, well, what else can I get with this movie, right? Meaning that like awards and things like this. Is that in your head, or do you kind of like not even thinking about that?
I don't really think about it. I don't really think about it. Why? I just got other things to think about, you know, and I've got people on my team that can think about those things if they present themselves, like let's be honest about it, right? Like again, we told the viewers we're all buddies here, right? So like let's be honest, right? The shit I went through, the way that I hit the press, the way I was dragged, the things I've had to deal with and heal from and all that, that's completely it's a wrap. You know what I mean? Like I appreciate the hustle, I appreciate the love, but I'm a part of the academy. And I can tell you right now, it's not gonna happen. You know what I mean? They're not gonna do it. You know what I mean?
Mm.
What a beautiful space to be in when that was never my objective. You know what I mean? Imagine the heartache if it had been like, oh damn. You know what I mean? Do I love hearing people talk about it? Like, whoa, Jay, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, because guess what? It's out there now. And now to the end of time, or until AI completely rewrites all our shit, right? That movie's out there, right? And come April, right, first week of April, it'll be on video on demand. So if you don't want to go out and support Jonathan Majors publicly, you can do it privately. You know what I mean? But you're not supporting me, you're supporting a movie. You know what I mean? You're
Sure.
supporting art,
Sure.
So I don't want to talk too hard about it, but I just gotta be, I mean, we're homies, right? So let's just talk straight. Would I love that for the picture? Absolutely. But I don't need it. You know what I mean? It's gonna get me another job someplace. Yeah, but maybe not. You know what I mean? Maybe not.
The character of Killian Maddox is very iconic to me. Like the movie just came out, but I feel like this character is just, you know what I mean? There's levels to the character, right?
Yes, sir.
He's obsessed. You feel bad for him. You also in moments feel like you're rooting for him.
Yep.
Like it's a complex character, you know what I mean? So that's why I'm asking about the awards and I'm asking about the accolades.
Yeah.
Because so far everything about the movie has been nothing but positive, you know what I mean? So it's like
It's
it must
gnarly,
feel
bro.
great. It must feel great for you, you know?
Now, see, that part feels great. Like I think the best message I've received was from my acting teacher back at Yale, right? And this man's name is Ron Van Loo. I'm gonna holler at him, right? Ron Van Loo has taught all of us. Everyone see Paid in Full, right? So you
Yeah.
got Wood Harris, right? He taught Wood Harris. He taught the amazing poet Saul Williams. He taught Lupita Nyong'o. He taught Yahya Abdul-Mateen, Black Manta. He taught Winston Duke, right? Of all the things Winston Duke has done, as well as the Black Panther franchise, right? He's dealt with me. This man is give me a great bodybuilding coach, right? Like he is that guy for us, you know what I mean? And getting that message from him, Ron Van Loo, in my email, he's now long retired, but he still does. I go, oh man, that's the best award that could happen. You know what I mean? That's the best award there, But no, I'll also keep it a buck. Do I love that people are loving the film? Absolutely, because I'm just one part of it. I mean, Jason's a part of it. Jason goes, hey, you should feel that. You should feel good too, bro. Like they're saying,
You should, Jason. You should.
they're like, no, the performance part, that's between me, God, and a bunch of journals. You know what I mean? And I'm happy about that. And I made the work for the people. You know what I mean? Yeah, we got hamstrung trying to get it out, but I believe it's coming out at the right time. I'm in a place now where I can help really promote it. And I want to say thanks to you, Vlad, because Vlad caught us, when we was on this uphill battle. We were trying to do all these other things, to just so, you and Generation Iron, try and give me a hand up. You know what I mean?
my
And you
pleasure, man.
absolutely done that.
It's my pleasure.
So yeah, I'm just happy and feeling blessed.
Absolutely. Before we wrap up, Jonathan, so we have listeners of Generation Iron submit some questions. We've picked 4. Vic, you want me to do the questions right now? We have a lightning round of questions.
Throw them in. Come on.
So yeah, we picked 4 questions. Let's see what Jonathan has to say about these. All right, ready, Jonathan?
All right, ready.
All right, first question comes from Bobby Popcast. What was the training regimen like for getting so lean for the on-screen physique? And how did all those scenes where Killian Maddox was binging junk food feel? Bobby Aiden, GI fan, and Jonathan Majors fan.
Wait, kid. Okay.
The junk food scene, that was cool.
So we do it all for real, right? That's not always the case. On my sets, yes, but not always the case. So I'll answer that backwards. So a lot of times when you do a training film or whatever, or a sports film, there's a lot of tricks. A lot of those things are plastic weights where the weights aren't real, right? Everybody on that set can say every time we lifted that weight on that set and also on the Creed set, which is important to me. So you got that part. The other part is, so how did I get so lean? I can say it's to this audience because they understand it, that it's not crazy. Genetics, right? So some of us come from big guys and get smaller, right? To get the look. I'm more of a slim guy than like my metabolism is gnarly, right? So my genetics want to pull things out very quickly. I lost 3 pounds this week because I decided I was going to do a bar challenge with some guy in Venice, and he postponed it. But I lost 3 pounds, just moving too fast. You know what I mean? Wow. So like, and that was also my saving grace, right? The fact that I could get sinewy like that, right? You could see everything, right? Versus some of the other guys who are just twice as big as me and their bellies are beautiful, right? But I'm just shredded. You know what I mean? Like that was my superpower. You know what I mean? So genetics, right? And then the and then like we train like a motherfucker. I mean, I'll let Jason talk about that, but I train like a madman. Like I'm crazy about this. You know what I mean? Like acting, training, like we just like, yeah, I saw it, right? Like you only get, like, we're all men of color here, right? We're all marginalized in some capacity, right? We don't get movies like this. You know what I mean? And you definitely don't get them with Dan Gilroy, right? Of Nightcrawler, right? Who makes bangers, Jen Fox, who's the president, or in a position of power at the Academy. You don't get these. Elijah Bynum, whose first film he made with Timothy Chalamet, you know what I mean, which was wicked, and now he's with Jonathan Majors, who was then Kang. You know what I mean? Like, you don't get this. Like, I'm not gonna f around and just hope and pray that like my little 6-pack is gonna get me through. Nah, Jack. We were all the way in. And Jason understood that. I was like, bro, we gotta work. Like, we gotta get this. And then the food, right? Like there's no act. Like, of course there's acting because that's what I do for a living, right? But you make it as real as possible, right? So it's like, I knew I was shooting that day. They bought that food. They set it in front of me, and they usually have a spit bucket, right? You can chew it, spit it out. No. This is this moment. And I know I've not touched this amount of salt or this amount of fried in this amount of time. You know what I mean? And so when I bite into that burger or I take that rib, a whole part of and the camera's up, a whole part of my body, my biology is going to respond to that, and the camera's going to get it, right? And then I'm going to get to a point where like, oh, wait, Jay, you are throwing away 13 months of training because you're feeling bad. Well, so is Killian. Shoot it. And then what happens, right? When you watch the picture, the next thing you see is he's throwing up, or he's training super hard, or he's on the bike. Well, guess what me and Jason were doing the next day? Say, yo, bro, I ate 5 things of chicken nuggets, I ate 2 burgers on camera, and then I had a shake for fun. No, not really. Then I had a shake. You know what I mean? We gotta hit this jump rope, put me on everything. You know what I mean? And you do it, So that's how we did that. That was I won't answer the rest of these questions so long-winded. Sorry.
No, that was great, man.
That's great.
All right, next question from Trex the Beast. Jonathan, what real historical figure would you want to play in a movie? A real historical figure. Anybody comes to mind?
Probably Paul Robeson. Yeah. So Paul Robeson is before Denzel, before Sidney Poitier. There's Paul Robeson. And Paul Robeson was a giant, literally a giant. He was probably 6'5", but that's 6'5" in the early 1900s. This man's incredible, right? He was ostracized and sent to Europe because they thought he was a communist. And that song, Old Man River, that old man, he sung that, right? And has made, he's just the man. He's just the man. But I don't think anybody knows his story. And I'd like to help with that.
That'd be great. Sounds interesting. Next question, Lionel34092. Loved your physique. What was the most difficult or stubborn body part you trained for this film? Did you have a stubborn? Maybe Jason can answer that one. What was the most stubborn area?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly,
Keep it real, bro.
It really wasn't too stubborn. It was just really about dialing in and getting details on things with Jay. He already had the physique, so if chest was it, I would home in on a certain part of his chest and let's say the inner part of the chest. But you've got to really flex. You know what I mean? So I would look for specific details like a vein popping off. I knew that vein in the inner chest was flexing. I knew the rest of the chest was coming together. Same thing with shoulders. We really, my philosophy is if you got shoulders and back and you can see it in a hoodie or a sweatshirt, then you're a big dude. I just, when you look at Pai Pai and what's the gentleman's name? I forget his name, but Brutus. He always had a long sleeve shirt on and he was just wide and you could see it. And that was kind of the imagination I had with Jay. I said, if I can see you, the outline with clothes on, when you take this off, everybody's going to be in a wow factor. And we were able to execute that. So that's why I'd have him peel out, like, let me see what you look like. Let me see it. And most of the time, not most of the times, all the time, it always brought that wow factor. People were like, wow, bro, you look ripped, bro. You're huge. But it was about getting those details and actually studying his body, being able to know his body, being able to know when he was off, when he was on, what needed to be brought in and what needed to be brought out. And then just bring the whole package. It wasn't no stubborn body part on. It was just about those details and making it more pronounced so that when he brought that full package, he could deliver the full package. And that's what he did. That's what you guys saw in the film is the full package.
That's very sweet, bro. Deltoid. I don't know if the movie gave me complex or what. No, it wasn't. I was actually in the gym. So here's a story for you, and I'll conclude. But we were in the gym. I just trained with Ryan. I trained with Jason in the morning, and I was training with Rhino that night. And no, other way around. But I walk into the gym, and the guy who owns the gym, right? I'm out there. I'm doing posing. That's what it is. I'm doing posing. And he walks up. I bullshit you not. And this guy has not read the movie. He said, "Yeah, but his shoulders are weak." And I nearly lost my mind. I looked over at him. Mind you, this guy owned the gym. And I went, oh my God, this is real. This is really happening. And this man's name, he won't mind because we're buddies now. This man's name was John. And so we ended up calling the deltoids were the Johns. And so I worked these fucking deltoids I'm talking about just like, yeah, we've all been there, right? We've all been there, right? Like, yeah. So I would say the weakest part for me to develop, again, let's talk about genetics, right? Let's keep it 100%. Deltoids, I don't know if that's a genetic thing or just like I hadn't worked them properly. Like boxing, it's a different. You're trying to get the cap. It's an aesthetic. It's not strength. You're trying to get the, deltoids for sure, but not genetics, just like lifestyle and training, right? Calves. Don't know if it's genetics, don't know what it is, but I can bang my calves as much as I want to. Whereas my quads will grow like this on a leg day, right? The pump on the calves is like, you know what I mean? And I still can't walk the next day. So I would say calves are probably the most stubborn part.
We got to train calves one day then.
Calves. I'll have them, bro. I'll have them.
Genetically, I did not have any. I had to actually kill them to grow.
Okay. Yes. Let's do that. Let's do that.
So how many days a week do you train? Just last question over here for me.
Now?
How many days? Well,
It's
for the movie and usually like off no acting, no.
right. I think for the movie we were training every day, right? Because
Okay.
like in the picture, with the exception of maybe 4 scenes, right? The way the schedule worked, I had to be, and everyone listening understand, I had to be competition ready, right? Because some of the things we're shooting in order, some days you were posing, like we had to be kind of floating in that space the whole time, right? And then we really turned the diet up when we had like competition week that we were shooting, of course. So I said to say, I trained every day. You know what I mean? Trained every day. Um, uh,
So,
I actually do something. Actually, was doing something then that I don't do now, where it's like they were. No, actually, this was Creed. Creed, they forced me to have a cheat day because I just couldn't get my mind around it. Right.
yeah.
This movie, we didn't have cheat days. We just had, I'm gonna give you double rice, double chicken, double, and you got to sit there and eat. You know. Now I also train 7 days a week. I don't have any posing rehearsal anymore.
Okay.
But I train 7 days a week.
Wow.
I like lifting, lift, make it hurt.
Nice.
Next, you know what I mean? And
You still
then
boxing though?
yeah, still well, that's the thing, right? So
Right. Okay. Okay.
my cardio is a little higher. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
Whereas
Yes.
I hit a set when we were training, and then Jason and Rhino like slow walk, just
Yeah.
slow walk to the next place, keep your energy, Now it's like you know what I mean? Like I mean, clearly not that pace, but I allow my heart rate to get a little higher as I'm
Yeah.
training, kind of maintain that through my training, unless someone says to me, "Hey man, we're doing this over here." Like this next picture I'm training for, this will be interesting. We should chat again. Yeah, we should definitely chat again because this guy's more like special ops, right? And so of course, like a real special ops guy is not walking around, showing that he's special ops.
Yeah.
Um, so this one I'm just gonna try to tighten a bit, just a bit more. And it's always crazy when you get to this point where it's like you're in it. You know what I mean? Like, and again, as I said, I'm slim by nature. So I mean, Jason and I have fun with that, trying to figure out how to tighten. But a lot of the work will do it, but just trying to tighten it as much as possible, and still be hydrated. So good luck with that, Jason. I'll be ready.
Guys, last question before we wrap this up.
Yeah.
Here we go. So last question from the fan, and also I guess Victor kind of touched upon it a little bit, but Laura Pauls 09 asking, do you think magazine dreams will make people like bodybuilding or scare them away after watching it?
Depends on how they're built. I mean, some guys like to fight. You know what I mean? Some guys like the struggle, Again, I think there's a lot in the film, you know. You can see there's something very romantic about it. I won't stop. Something very romantic about getting to a gym 10 o'clock, 5 a.m. in the morning, 10 o'clock at night, just you, your music, your demons, your angels, and just getting busy. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And then you see you've done something. You've done something. I fell in love with it. You know what I mean? The doing of it and the culture of it and the heroes of it. You know what I mean? So yeah, if you're listen, if you get scared of bodybuilding from the movie, bad news, Jack, it's not for you because the movie's only 2 hours and 4 minutes. You know what I mean? There's a lot more to it than that. Yeah.
All right. No, thank you, Jonathan Majors, for your movie. Basically, out in theaters now.
Yeah.
Magazine Dreams. Michael Hearn, my boy's on there too, and Jason Best. Thank you for bringing him to Generation Iron.
Thank you, Jay.
You guys are great. Remember, everyone, if you want to see him in a prior podcast episode, tune into iHeartRadio, wherever you stream your podcast. And be sure to watch Magazine Dreams.
Go to theaters now.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thanks.
Talking to both of you guys.
Thank you, guys.